Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Boxing Pick, the premier destination for boxing picks. My name is Hisham and together with my partner Stephen Breadman Edwards, we will be previewing and breaking down the upcoming pay-per-view fight between Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora to see where we can find the most value. We will also be breaking down one of the undercard fights, which will be between Elijah Garcia and Kyrone Davis. Kyrone Davis happens to be trained by Stephen Breadman Edwards. So you will hear it from him, what he has to say about that fight. Enjoy. I am joined now by my partner, Stephen Breadman Edwards. Stephen, we have the upcoming pay-per-view fight between Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. How do you see this fight playing out?
I think that the fight is going to be a violent, high contact type of fight. I think with both of their styles and personalities that it can, that's what we're going to get. Like, they don't really, even though both guys have some decent skills, especially Tszyu, I just feel like that with their personalities and the way they fight, that is going to be a violent type of fight.
Yes. I heard Sebastian Fundora say that he has changed his mindset, that he will fight smarter from now on. What do you think he means by that? Keeping his distance?
I mean, that's the only thing he can mean. Is keeping his distance and using the jab more and not, slugging so much. But here's the thing about that. I don't know if he has the skill set to do that. If you ever watch him fight, he's always squinting. So I don't know if it's a very, I know it may seem small, but he doesn't seem to have good eyes and good reflexes. So I think he fights, in that style because that's what, that's his best attribute, his toughness and his endurance. So I feel like he can try to do that, but he might get picked off trying to box.
Yes. Fundora, despite his height, never seems to stay on the outside, for any period of time in his fights. And he seems to be comfortable on the inside, really.
Yeah, I mean, exactly right. Like sometimes people will say a guy should be on the outside because of their height and their reach. But guys are on the outside when they have the reflexes to be on the outside, when they have the skills and the sharpness to be on the outside. Pernell Whitaker is 5'5", and he was great on the outside because of his skill set. It's not always the height and the reach. Paul Williams is 6'1", but he can't box on the outside like Pernell Whitaker because his skill set is not the same. So I feel like that it depends on your skill set whether you can do that or not.
That's true. When I was looking at Sebastian Fundora's last few fights, nobody seemed to put too much weight on this before because he was always winning. But actually, if you look at his last 5 or 6 fights, even when he's on the inside, even when he's actually doing really good stuff on the inside, he hits all his opponents with big shots, but he's getting hit big in every fight, it seems
Constant. It takes a lot of punches. And even though he won the Lubin fight, whenever you're in a fight like that, you always wonder if a guy has lost it or not. You wonder if something chipped away at him, or if he lost a piece of his of his prime or a piece of his ability, just a small piece, because this is a game of small inches. And if you lose 5% of yourself, that could be a lot. Unless you're Roy Jones, where your ability level was just so high, higher than everybody else's, you could lose something and still win, elite level fights.
Yeah, that's true. I think something might have happened in the Lubin fight because in looking at some of his prior fights to that, he was getting hit with big shots, but he was taking them. And that's, he was taking them. But in the Lubin fight, he got hurt and he got hurt really bad. I thought actually it looked like it was very close to being stopped. It seemed like.
Go! Lubin's a big puncher. if you look at the fight with Jesus Ramos, Ramos didn't want to go into Lubin as often as his corner and the commentators were kind of egging him on to do, because he's Lubin's a big puncher. You just don't want to just walk up on his shots. He can hurt you. So you never know who's being damaged in those kind of fights. Obviously you want to be the winner because your self-esteem is higher when you win, but you never know about those kind of fights. Look at Holyfield and Bo, for example. Bo won 2 out of the 3 of the trilogy, and he stopped Holyfield. But Bo, in the last one, Bo was never the same after that. He was pretty much a spent bullet. Well, Holyfield went on to beat Tyson after that and win Fighter of the Year after that, and still have some really good fights in his career, where Bo was pretty much ruined. Like he looked like a shell of himself after that. So you don't really know, until you see the guy move on. And Fundora, not only was he hurt bad by Lubin, but that Brian Mendoza knockout was brutal.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yes.
Knockout.
Yes. If we just go back 1 second, in the Lubin fight, I think we can give credit to Fundora that he actually was able to recuperate from being hurt so bad. Because I looked at it several times, and he looked like he was really hurt against Lubin. But the round only had like 20 seconds there. Maybe if there was another minute, maybe it would have been stopped. Can't say for sure. I'm not sure if we got what you said. Could you repeat it, please? Do you remember what you said? Something. He was very hurt. Yes.
He was very hurt in the Lubin fight, but he recovered the very next round and had a good round. So he's still a young guy. Who knows? Guys get knocked out and come back and have great careers. Who knows? But he does get hit pretty clean. He did hit his head hard on the canvas. So it's now, regardless if he slipped or not, people are going to look at him, forensically to make sure that he's still the same guy pre-Lubin or pre-Mendoza.
Yes. So he had one fight, I think, between the Fundora fight before he fought Brian Mendoza. And so he was hurt badly against Lubin, and he had taken big shots in pretty much every fight he had prior to that, like the last 6 or 7 at least. And in the Mendoza fight, he was hurt and knocked out pretty badly. So what do we make of that? Do you think he can be the same? We haven't seen him face anybody since then.
You don't know. You never know. Sometimes guys are fine, and sometimes they aren't. I've seen it happen both ways. So it just depends. It depends on what kind of willpower he has. And also it depends on if he was damaged physically or not. I don't know. I haven't heard any reports in training or anything like that. So let's see. Usually I think that is, a one-punch knockout is not the worst thing in the world. I would rather my guy get hit with one shot than take a beating for 10 to 11 rounds. But the issue is his style. With his style, he has to be a savage. He has to have willpower. He has to be willing to take a certain amount of punches to do a certain amount of damage. So when fighters like him get knocked out, a lot of times they lose their viciousness. They lose their ability to walk through the fire. Now some, like Diego Corrales, he was still an animal after Floyd Mayweather knocked him out. He still was able to win the fight of the century against Jose Luis Castillo. But some guys, they don't respond that well to being knocked out. So we don't know until we see him.
Yeah, you're right. He says himself he just made a simple mistake. He was winning the fight easily. He said, I agree that he was winning the fight, but it was still a very costly mistake, of course.
Yeah, he was winning the fight, but what he was doing, here's the thing about that, right? He was winning the fight. But once fighters see that you're vulnerable, they have more inclination to stay in there with you, and they show more determination to win because they feel as though that there's hope. So
Mm-hmm.
because Mendoza has seen him hurt against Lupin, because he sees, the vulnerable moments, he didn't pack it in. He kept it
Oh.
going. You know what I mean? So he definitely was winning the fight as far as points, but Mendoza was never discouraged. So
No.
that's something that you go through when you're like the Terminator kind of fighter. Did you ever notice how hard guys fought Tyson after, they saw him get knocked out? Things changed with him. You know,
They believe
um,
more.
they believed that they had a shot more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happens when you lose and you have that kind of a style. Guys will just fight you more. They won't be so inclined to take a knee or allow
Mm-hmm.
themselves to get
Yeah.
stopped because they know. Even George Foreman, strongest guy in history of boxing, once he lost to Ali, Ron Lau and Jimmy Young fought him much harder. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what Fundora is going to have to understand. That is, after you lose, you got to really show your greatness, because now you're dealing with a man who's more confident because they have more hope that they can get you in a vulnerable position.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though Tszyu is very confident, seeing Fundora knocked out, it's like, man, I mean, that might be the reason why he accepted him as the replacement opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I saw an interview with Tszyu. He has really grown on me. I used to think that he was a little bit overhyped maybe some fights ago, but he just first of all, he seems to be getting better with each and every fight. But I saw something else in one of the interviews from this week. He seems to be at a really calm and steady place. He seems like he's very happy. He's enjoying himself, and he really believes in himself. Like he seems to be one of those guys that, like, how he's feeling like right now, he feels like he can't lose. That's the feeling I'm getting.
Uh, I see the same thing. He's a very, very confident fighter, and he's very composed with his confidence. It's
Yeah,
not an over the top confidence. It's more of a, I'm really a good fighter, and I'm willing to
yeah,
prove it. And I have a lot of respect for Tim Tszyu. He can fight.
yes,
He's
yes,
a
I
good
like it.
fighter. I don't know exactly how good he is because Tom tells that, but he's a good fighter.
Yes. Yes, that's true. I was thinking about one comparison of another fighter in a way that makes me think of Fundora. They're very, very different. Nothing similar in like the Fundora fights only on the inside. I was thinking about the heavyweight Joe Joyce. When he was coming up and beating all these guys, he used to give a lot of punishment, but he always took the punishment until he couldn't anymore. And that makes me think of Fundora because he was always taking very, very big punches, never had any effect on him until they started having an effect on him. And I'm just wondering if he really, what will happen when Tszyu gets to him?
That's the big question. That's why I'm picking Tszyu to win,
Yeah.
because fighters with that style, if they're not like physically dynamic and they take big shots, usually once the nut gets cracked, it keeps cracking. Once the
Yes.
concrete has a crack in it, it just keeps cracking with that particular style.
And not only that, we haven't actually gotten the chance to see Fundora in with anyone else since he got knocked out.
Yes, yeah, that's
So
true.
he
And
can't
listen,
even know for sure for himself, right? Despite what he says.
I don't know. I don't know what he knows. I don't, because I'll give you an example. I got when Julian Williams got stopped by Charlo, I let him box without a headgear. I sent them away to camp with Triple G. Like, I did a lot of things to
Wow.
let them know that that was just a shot. That was just one
Yeah.
shot. You were winning the fight. It was one shot, and anybody is going to get hurt off of that shot. So I don't know what his team did or didn't do to get him past
Hmm.
this. I can't say. He may have boxed without a headgear. He may have boxed big punchers in camp to build his confidence back up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody is different.
Yes. And one other thing, when I'm hearing him talk now about his strategy, that he will be much smarter, they will utilize his reach if there is anything else possibly that he can do. He tried to do that a little bit in his last fight, but he doesn't, like you said before, he doesn't seem to have the reflexes, nor does he have the correct feet movement to keep him. He doesn't have a very asserting jab to begin with. What do you think?
I agree. I think that's why he fights on the inside, because it's more
Yeah,
beneficial to him. It's just that he gives up something defensively.
yeah.
Listen, man, every tall, skinny fighter can't beat Tommy Hearns, man. You know, that kind of sharpness comes along once every 50, 60 years. Everybody
Yeah.
can't be like that. So when you see a tall guy with reach and height, everybody expects him to be this masterful outside boxer, but it doesn't work that way. You got to have the reflexes and the sharpness to be able to put it together. Margarito was a pretty tall guy to be a welterweight. If you look at him, you know, he wasn't a short fighter, but he didn't have the
Mm.
reflexes for that. So you
Yeah.
can tell him to box like Oscar did, but he didn't have Oscar's talent and skill set. So he has to
No.
fight the way he has to fight.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So the line, Stephen, for this fight, we have Tszyu minus 500, Sebastian Fundora plus 350. What do you think about the minus 500 on Tszyu? Does that feel good?
I like Tszyu to win the fight by knockout.
You're confident he gets to him, right?
Yes.
I would say so too. So the knockout can be had at minus 225 to minus 200, maybe on some places still. That seems like a decent deal, doesn't it?
Yep.
Do you see him getting to him early or late? We're not going to go. We're not going to pick specifically in this fight. But what would you say? Would you say Fundora makes a mistake early, or would you see it being later in the fight?
I say between 4 and 6.
Somewhere around there,
Yep.
almost the same as the Brian Mendoza fight.
I think Brian Mendoza got him later.
7, yeah, in the 7th.
Okay.
All right, so we agree. We have a pick for this fight. We have Tszyu to win the fight by knockout or TKO.
Yes.
And now we will be breaking down the upcoming fight between Elijah Garcia and Kyrone Davis, which will be on the undercard of Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora. And Kyrone Davis happens to be trained by Stephen Breadman Edwards. Stephen, how has the camp been for Kyrone Davis?
We had a very good camp. Very good camp.
Am I saying his name right?
Yes. The E is silent. It's Kyrone.
Kyrone, yes, Kyrone Davis. Yeah, I've heard you say it once before. In a media call I was listening to, he was saying that he had a full camp for this fight, and he was very happy about that.
Yes. Yes, he did.
And he fought in December.
Yes, he did.
In looking at the scorecards, Stephen, he won that fight on the scorecards by only, I think it was 5 rounds to 3.
Yep.
Do you think that fight was that close against the Crew Stewart?
We thought we were fighting a 10-rounder, so he kind of like took his time a little bit, and he took his time a little bit in the first 2 rounds, and then he started going. But he won rounds 3 through 7 clean on all of the judges' scorecards. So he won 5 rounds in a row. So he kind of dominated the action of the fight. It's just that it took him a little bit of time to win, to really get warmed up. And then in the 8th round, I thought he was winning the round, but the guy was hustling a little bit, and he hit Kyrone with a nice body shot. And he had a lot of family and friends there, and everybody started going crazy. But I thought Kyrone won the 8th round. The guy just landed a decent little shot towards the end of it. But
one big punch.
it was a weird kind of fight where, Kyrone dominated the. If you win 5 rounds in a row against a guy, you're kind of dominating the action. But I just think that he got started a little bit slower than he should have, because we thought we were fighting a 10-rounder. But it's no excuses, But that's just pretty much what happened.
Cruz Stewart seems like a. I'm not saying he's a very good fighter or anything like that, but he seems like an awkward fighter. A little bit awkward.
Well, he's one of those guys that's been around. He's been in gyms. He's been
Yeah.
in camps. You know, he had a career at one time. He's a decent he has a decent skill set. You know, he just probably just had management and personal issues where his career never got off the ground. But he's not an easy fight. He has some
No,
skills.
that's true. The line for this fight, Elijah Garcia versus Kyrone Davis, we have Elijah Garcia currently priced at minus 1,400, and you can get Kyrone Davis at plus 750. That's without specifying how he would win the fight. I think the odds makers put that line so big and so wide just because of their common opponent, Cruz Stewart. So in Kyrone's last fight, he had a close fight. He won by a single point or two, while Elijah Garcia, when he fought him, he knocked him out in 2 rounds. But that doesn't say the whole picture, because even when Elijah Garcia fought him, in the first round, which was the only completed round they had, Garcia was actually getting hit a whole lot by Cruz Stewart, it seemed. That wasn't,
Yeah,
so uneven.
you know what? And he fought Garcia different than he fought Kyrone. You know, he
Yeah.
had been knocked out, so he was moving and boxing and moving and boxing. If you look at the fight, Kyrone had to chase him the whole fight. Where with
Yes.
Elijah Garcia, he was more confident. He hadn't been knocked out yet, so he was like, he was in there, trying to get his pound of flesh. So he approached the fight different. Whoever wants to believe in a triangle theory, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We just got to just
It's
see.
true. Yeah.
I think that's the reason why they took the fight. But listen, we just saw Joseph Parker beat Zhang, and Zhang knocked out
Yeah.
Joe Joyce, and Joe Joyce knocked out Joseph Parker. We literally just saw that triangle theory. So if anybody wants to believe that, then that's fine. We'll find out when they fight.
Yeah, the triangle theory is very interesting. I always look at it, of course, but it's sometimes you can take away more from it than other times.
Yes, you can take away a lot.
But there's another thing also.
Guys.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're comparing like fighters' careers, and you say who outperformed who versus common opponents or things like that, when you're so if they're banking on a triangle theory with this fight, let's see how the fight works out.
And another thing I was saying was that Elijah Garcia and Kyrone Davis are so not alike. They're very, very different. So Elijah Garcia, he is a big puncher, and he seems to be very strong physically. But Cruz Stewart isn't the kind of guy to get out of the way. He was just standing right in front of him. So that might have enabled him to get hit by those big punches also. Another factor I was looking at, I was looking at, Stephen, is that I find this very interesting. Elijah Garcia, no doubt about it, he seems like a very talented young guy. He's strong physically. It's obvious that he punches hard if he has somebody standing in front of him. But he hasn't been in with anybody that I would say has good footwork, that can be elusive, that can be tricky. I haven't seen him in with anyone that can fight like that.
Me neither.
That would be interesting.
So we'll see.
But I like the fact that Elijah Garcia is giving Kyrone Davis a lot of respect. He understands that it's not an easy fight. I like that. He seems mature about it. But he still has to prove it in the ring.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How old is Kyrone now? Is he 30?
29.
29. Okay. And another aspect of this fight, which I find interesting, is besides the fact that Kyrone has been in with Anthony Durrell, which ended in a draw, I thought he won personally, but the fight was very close. and he had a fight with Benavides where he outperformed. Nobody thought he was gonna do as well as he did. He has also been a sparring partner for several of the top middleweights in the world, hasn't he?
Yes.
So he won't be faced by any of this. Will this fight be taking place at 160? Could you tell us that? Is it 160 exactly, or had they agreed on a catch weight, or
160 exactly.
160 exactly? Okay, that will be very interesting. Anything else you can tell us about this fight without giving away too much?
We coming to win. That's it. We're coming to win.
All right. I believe in Kyrone Davis. We will be giving out a pick for this fight. Me, I believe in Kyrone Davis. Stephen Edwards, you believe in your man, right?
Yes.
All right. So the pick for this fight is Kyrone Davis to win, currently priced at plus 750.
Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting our channel. We appreciate having you here. And please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. We will be uploading videos every week. And hope you enjoyed it.